Hello and welcome to Galatta Plus. In this video review episode today, we are going to be talking about Selvaraj's Bison. The film is a powerful, beautifully told story about a sportsman and the violence around him. Dhruv plays a kabaddi player who faces hurdles not just due to caste but also due to the violence in the areas around his home. His long journey from local champion to representing India at the Asian Games is told with furious filmmaking energy. That was the short take. A longer review follows and it may contain spoilers.
Entertainment presents Selvaraj இயக்கத்தில் துருவின் பைசன் அக்டோபர் 17 முதல்.
குறைந்த விலை நிறைந்த தரம் தங்கள் தேவைகள் அனைத்தும் ஒரே இடத்தில் ஜெயச்சந்திரன்.
டார்லிங் 3D தீபாவளி டீல்ஸ். நீங்கள் வாங்கும் ஒவ்வொரு பொருளுக்கும் 3 அற்புதமான டீல்ஸ்.
Selvaraj may be the best genre breaker filmmaker we have today. In Pariyaram Perumal, he transformed the coming of age template into a howl of anguish. In Bison, he takes the sports biopic and through this template, he tells the story of how sport may be the only escape from hot-headed communities that hold on to grudges and keep on fighting. If someone asked you what the film is about, the surface level answer would be that this is the fictionalized story of the kabaddi player Maamannan, who is called Kittan here and played by Dhruv. And that is how the film opens, at the surface level. We are at the 1994 Asian Games in Japan and India is playing Pakistan and Kittan is not selected to play. At once, we see both sides of Kittan's journey. On the one hand, he is representing India at the very highest level, which is an opportunity very few people get. And yet, even at this highest level, he is kept out of the playing team. He is benched. Someone has to fight with the coach on his behalf and get him onto the ground. Bison thus is the story of many types of fighting, many types of violence. There's Kittan fighting back when he's attacked or when his father is attacked. There are other people fighting on Kittan's behalf, like the big shot characters beautifully played by Amir and Lal. They may be at war personally with each other, but they look at Kittan as a skilled kabaddi player who should not lose out because of the circumstances around him. Some of the best parts of Bison are when we see that these Amir and Lal characters are not as bad as we thought they were. Third, we have the violence in the larger community, like the family fight over a god. And finally, we have the emotional violence of the kind where a man refuses to let his daughter get married to Kittan. All this violence, all this fighting, it does not look choreographed. It looks like we are watching something that happened on the spot. To fight back or not, this ambivalence is best seen in Kittan's father, wonderfully played by Pasupati. In his expressive eyes, we see a man who does not want his son to play kabaddi and subsequently be led into the life of a rowdy. And yet, he is not a complete peace lover. He carries around a knife for protection. He is proud of Kittan, but he also fears for Kittan. Bison is a triumph of storytelling. Sakti Thir is the editor and the cuts are fast and they carry forward the fury of the film, the fury inside Kittan. In other words, we feel the violence in the editing too. The distant past, the immediate present and the present time of a few days ago or a few minutes ago. All these timelines collide like atoms in a particle accelerator. The film runs nearly 3 hours, but I hardly felt it. There are many acts of bloodshed, but each one comes with a different context. They don't feel repetitive because they build the story in different ways and sweep it along like a strong river current. So those expecting a simple rah-rah story of a player who fights the odds, does a few training montages set to rousing music, sheds a few tears and finally succeeds, these audiences may need to recalibrate their expectations. We see Kittan playing kabaddi, sure, but we also see him running. And running. We see many shots of Kittan looking at himself in a mirror and he seems to be asking himself questions. What questions are these? As he says, Vaalkaikum, Aasaikum, Nadule irukkira kelvigal. These are questions about the many circumstances between one's life and one's dream. It is not just that Kittan is from an oppressed community, it is also about the oppression of his desires. And that is why he keeps running. It's a form of escape, of tiring himself out so that those questions vanish for at least a while. I was often reminded of Tony Richardson's superb British drama, The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Runner. It would make a great companion piece with Bison. This is not to say that the film does not address issues of caste. Of course it does. When Kittan is taken to an eating place, the parota maker asks about his caste. Later, a teammate mocks the fact that Kittan has had to get help to get to where he is, as though people from dominant communities make it entirely on their own. And yet, there are many people who strive for a casteless society and go out of their way to help Kittan. This is yet another fight that the film shows. The dialogue sometimes may feel too pointed, but they are necessary to establish that the responsibility for Kittan's success and by extension the breaking down of social divisions, that responsibility is not just on Kittan's shoulders alone. This is a collective fight. In an early scene, we see a young Kittan squeezing himself into a corner, terrified of the bloodshed that he has just seen. Much later, we get an echo shot of another young man who sees bloodshed and who reacts the exact same way. Kitan may succeed, but Mari Selvaraj also shows us the other Kitans who need to save themselves on their own or with help. The supporting cast is excellent. Maamannan plays a school teacher who takes Kitan under his wing. Rajisha Vijayan plays Kitan's supportive sister. Anupama Parameswaran plays the love interest. The first sign of love is a scene where she is at home looking at Kitan's picture. It is a complicated love story, one that the film does not have time to really get into, but these gaps in the narrative are bridged by Nivas Prasanna's scorching songs like Tee Koluthi in this case. They are the emotional glue holding the various bits of the film together. And the set piece scenes work brilliantly, like the one where the Amir character goes to visit a bedridden man. Another standout scene shows Kitan rise from the dining table because the news he has heard has made his appetite vanish. And we are talking about someone who could eat 10 parotas at a time. There are the signature Mari Selvaraj touches like the switches from black and white to color and the use of animals and nature to comment on the characters and their circumstances, and Yellara's cinematography becomes the unblinking eye that registers everything without glamorizing anything. Even a beautiful shot like that of a man against a sun makes us feel the heat rather than the preciseness of the composition. And the camera is in love with Dhruv. You can see why he was cast. He is good in the dialogue portions, but he doesn't have too many lines and he rarely smiles. Mari Selvaraj uses him as a brute physical presence like the bison of the title. At the film's opening, we see the Asian Games in a boxy frame. At the end, the visual of the games fill the whole screen. It feels like something contained has been freed up, and Dhruv makes us feel every bit of this journey. Kitan speaks not just to the oppressed, but to everyone whose big dreams fill their parents with fear. This inclusivity, this resistance to dividing society into easy binaries of good and evil, this is what sets Mari Selvaraj apart. That's it about Bison. If you like this video review, do subscribe to Galatta Plus and see you soon at the movies.
Entertainment presents Mari Selvaraj இயக்கத்தில் துருவின் பைசன் அக்டோபர் 17 முதல்.
குறைந்த விலை நிறைந்த தரம் தங்கள் தேவைகள் அனைத்தும் ஒரே இடத்தில் ஜெயச்சந்திரன்.
Darling 3D Diwali deals. நீங்கள் வாங்கும் ஒவ்வொரு பொருளுக்கும் 3 அற்புதமான deals.